What's up? What's good? Matt Clark here at the new Matt Clark. How are each and every one of you doing on this amazing Sunday? I'm doing great. My girl's doing great. My family's doing great. Hope each and every one of you are doing great. And I hope you're having a great weekend. If you could please hit that like button, subscribe button, and that bell notification button so you get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media. Help spread the message, help spread the word, that'd be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of most of my videos. A little bit of a brain fart there. We're gonna do story time today. I'm just gonna take you guys back to Fenbrook, okay? So I started my first pen bit in Fenbrook. And my first pen bit was 27 months. One day. So it was two years, 3 months, 1 day. And because I was a non-violent offender, my charge was break and enter and a bunch of other like petty stuff that went along with the break and enter, you know, possession of stolen property, etc., etc. So I was immediately eligible for accelerated parole. This is before Stephen Harper took accelerated parole out, and that was, you automatically get parole basically if you're non-violent on your first pen bit at either 1/6 or 1/60 your sentence or 6 months, whichever one is longer. So I was at 6 months, and at 6 months they let me out. I went to a halfway house. I was at Bunton Lodge in Toronto, which is at like Sherbourne and Wellesley, basically. And honestly, the first time I was in a halfway house, I wasn't feeling it. I didn't want to be there. I was still stuck in my ways. My head was still in the streets. You know, I didn't want to stop, you know. At that point, I wasn't even thinking about it. You know, I was well committed. So honestly, they put me in Bunton Lodge. I was there like 21 days, and I took off, you know, and basically went on a little spree, made money. But of course, when you're on the run from federal parole, you can't do anything. You know, you can't go anywhere with people that you know are on the system. So people that you've called, your family, you can't go around any of them. Plus, you can't work. So you're either going to be doing crime or you're automatically going to be a financial burden on somebody, unless you have a bunch of money saved, right? Which I didn't, because I was a drug addict and somebody who wasn't responsible with my money anyways, because at that time I wasn't a super bad drug addict. I was just easing into the really bad. But I also had no financial literacy, you know. I didn't understand how to save money. It was just when it comes in, it goes out, and that's just how I lived my life. And it was stupid, and it changed my federal pen bit. So I got caught doing a break and enter, basically red-handed almost. I had to run. I was chased and tackled by feds on federal parole in Richmond Hill. And I turned a 2-year, 3-month sentence into a 5-year, 9-month and 1-day sentence. Now, this is when I went back to Fenbrook. So the first time at Fenbrook, I was there a couple months. You know, I didn't really experience it. At that time, it was a super free place to do time. Like, there was nature trails through the trees where there's no feds and nothing, right? Like, it was chill. Like, you could go out all day and just chill outside, play sports, whatever. But they've changed that now since the security's kind of gone up a bit. Now that they've changed Joyceville over to reception and shut down Kingston Penitentiary, there's a lot less beds, you know. And because of the gang issues, they now use Fenbrook as like a regular medium, not a low medium. Even though it is a low medium setup, they have Tundra unit now, which is a higher security unit in the jail. And that's how they've kind of upped the security of Fenbrook, right? And I'm telling you though, back then it was chill. Like it was the most lax place. You know, it's still chill for federal time, right? Like it's not, I wouldn't really consider it prison. You know, Joyceville I would definitely consider prison. Workworth, I would consider prison. Collins Bay, I would consider prison. They're all prisons, technically, but Fenbrook at that time was more like a camp. It just had a fence around it. So I wouldn't say it's the real prison experience. You know, it's not like doing time in the Ville where you're watching attempted murders fairly regularly. You see shanks fairly regularly. You know, Fenbrook at that time especially was a much more chill place. And all we did was smoke, pop ebos, play sports. There was a baseball league there. The baseball league there was 2 divisions, 5 teams each division. You play like a 40-game season or a 30-game season. And then you have playoffs. And those playoffs were competitive. It was fun for doing time. Like, I'm not even going to front. Like, I had some good moments there. But I was also a total knucklehead. I was also making a ton of bad decisions in my life, and not very long after ended up getting shipped out to Joyceville, first staying in Seg for 3 months, and then being shipped to Joyceville and meeting my brother, and again, you know, I already met my brother, but for the first time in a long time, and you guys know the story from there. But I'm going to go back, and I'm going to tell you about something that happened that never happens. You know, when you come into the pen, when you go down into the pen, you go through multiple dog checks, you go through multiple strip searches, property searches, like you go through a lot of this stuff. And to be honest, I never thought in a million years what happened would happen. So when I got booked, I had like a 2 or 3 gram nug in my cigarette pack, you know, wrapped up in tinfoil, just tucked away in my cigarette pack. And I remember the feds taking my shit, right? And in my head, automatically, those cigarettes are gone. That piff is gone. And I remember being in Fenbrook one day and waiting for my property. And at this time, I had full support from my parents. It was like, I still had a lot of stuff coming to me. I had like 30 CDs coming, all brand new CDs, all brand new clothes. I had a 3-disc changer Sony speaker system coming with the separate speakers, because back then there was no limitations on the bass. My brother had an even crazier one with a huge bass can. It was like 600 or 700 watts, but they don't let you do that anymore. The biggest one you can have now is like 100 watts or something, like a Kaboom or something like that, right? But back then I was waiting for that, so I was super excited. And I remember going up, walking my way. You know, you have the strut. You know, here you're just happy as hell to be getting your stuff, to be able to wear some clothes and some real shoes. Like, you have the stuff you get booked in, but like, you know, you've been wearing that shit to court over and over, and then maybe you get a clothing change if you have support on the outside. But still, the stuff you're wearing is stagnant. You know, you want that new fresh odds to come in, and you can kind of swag out, you know? And I don't think there's a person who's not excited when they're getting their stuff. Anyways, I remember walking up there, getting up there, taking my stuff, and the Fed in A&D saying to me, "Hey, Mr. Clark, there's a cigarette pack in there. I searched it. There's 6 cigarettes left in it. I broke one of them, but I left it in there. I just threw it in your bag." And in my head, I had it just registered. Like, it took a second, but once it registered, I was like, did this man really just hand me like 3 grams of weed? 2.5 grams of weed? Like, have it in his hand and hand it to me? And that's exactly what he did. I walked out, opened the pack. There, sure enough, wrapped in the foil was this nug. I was having a bad little stretch, and I remember being so excited about getting that little gift, because it's not something that you would typically get. You have to now worry about the leeches and stuff, but there was lots of weed there. So it's not like getting a 2 or 3 gram bud in Lindsay on a dry range where you're going to be fighting people to not give it all away. But man, it just kind of stands out to me because it's not something you would expect. Now, why did I get kicked out of Fenbrook? So I became a unit rep of Edgewood building. And why I wanted to become the unit rep is because at the time something was going on and it was big. And I wanted the movement, right? Because the unit rep in Edgewood is able to go from range to range. You have a card and you can just swipe into each range as opposed to just your range. And I remember I took advantage of that so much. I was just literally on other ranges all day, just bozzling. And I remember the day specifically being on my range, my homie giving me a chunk of this bubble hash. And I remember this is the best THC product I've ever smoked basically in my life. It was a little tiny piece of hash. And I remember thinking to myself and saying to the man, like, bro, like, you know I smoke, right? Like, he's like, brother, just trust me. There's more. Just trust me. So I balled it up, and blem it up, and I smoke it. And at that time there was tobacco, so you could blend it properly. And I remember smoking this and going into tunnel vision, like unbelievably high. And when you get really high in prison, you get more high because the elements and the tension and all that stuff seems to increase it if it turns on you a little bit. But I just remember how stoned I was and sitting on the shitter, taking, and zoning out for like a half an hour. And I remember getting a piece this one day, another piece, and I go onto the range in Edgewood with this guy, and I show it to him. I hand it to him like this. He's smelling it, and right when he's smelling it, the captain, the white shirt, crashes through the door and basically comes to pinch us. So what does this guy do? He eats it, right? Right? Like, that's what you would do, right? It's a little 0.2 of hash. You just eat it, right? The man puts it in his goddamn pocket. Ends up getting both of us pinched. Me pinched for trafficking because they watched me hand it to him. I end up getting booked for trafficking in a federal institution, a 0.2 of hash. I sat in seg for 3 months. I didn't hate the time in seg there. You ate like a champ. The dude that got pinched with me had all kinds of piff, and he was breaking me off because he knew I was cheesed, right? I was super cheesed, right? If I would have seen him, I would have smashed him. But I didn't see him again because we went to different joints. But he was still breaking me off, giving me spliffs every night. Plus, at that time, in seg, twice a day, they'd give us a smoke break. A smoke break, bro. You could literally, they'd crack your cell, you go down to this locker, you take your cigarettes, your bale tobacco, your rolling papers, and all that out. You go outside, or your TMs, if you buy TMs. You go outside and you power smoke, but we would always take some saran wrap, make a little bogey package and take it in for the nighttime. And when you smoke in there at night, nobody gave a shit, right? The guards didn't give a fuck, right? At the end of the day, you were allowed to smoke in the jail. You just couldn't smoke inside. And once it was nighttime, they're not going to bum rush your cell, right? So I remember having my stereo and getting these massive meals. Like, I'm telling you, you get like 2 barbecued pork chops with real homemade mac and cheese, with cherry cheesecake, with salad, with soup, with milk, with juice. That's one meal. They're feeding you the exact same meals they're selling to the guards. At that time, they didn't make any line food in Fenbrook. They only made food for the guards. So when you're in seg, you got that food. Now, they make line food for Tundra unit. It's the only unit in the jail. You don't cook your own food. And in Fenbrook, there's actually like a grocery store. You have a shopper on each range. Each person gets a balance of like $32 or $36 or $38. I don't know what it's at now. And you make your little grocery list. You get your groceries, and every night you cook your own food, and it's way cheaper. Like a brick of ground beef is like $2.50. 2 chicken legs is $3. 4 chicken burgers is $1. 8 hamburgers is like $5. There's a lot of things that you could buy, and there's also a black market for all that stuff. for the people that sell their food. Because there's a lot of guys that will sell literally like 2/3 of their food and starve and live off other people, you know? But those were good times, man, before I got booked. And then I did get booked. And where did I get sent? I got sent to Joyceville. I got sent to 3A with my broski and had some of the best time of my life, despite the fact that I was doing time. And I think building that relationship with my brother was a big part of that. But I also think that for real time, you know, it helped make me a man, you know. I saw a lot of things in there I probably should have never seen. You know, it's not good to see those kind of things. But I'm not going to front. Like, at points in my younger adult life, like, I didn't feel the same way as I do now about courage, about confidence. And I feel like going through the things that I went through, I gained a lot of that. Like, I'm kind of now like, I don't care, you know, because at the end of the day, like, look what I've been through. I've survived all of that. It's a blessing I'm where I'm at, you know. So anything above this is bonus. And if you live your life thinking like that, then I feel like you enjoy life more, you know. You're not living constantly with anxiety or worry. You live freely. And I feel like that's how I live now. And a big part of it was stepping away from the system. You know, I tell you this story about Fenbrook, you know, the great sports, the great food that I ate there. I've eaten some of the best food in my whole life made by some of the people there. You have all different cultures cooking and putting real love and effort into the food because that's all you get, right? That's your one thing that's good there, right? Is that you get to cook your own food. You can buy spices and seasonings and all kinds of different things and just create real delicious food. And I'm telling you, that one thing, that one amount of humanity that they give you makes that jail 25% as violent as the others because of the opportunity there. You know, a lot of people, once they're there, they don't want to go. They don't want to go. So they're not being violent. They're not stabbing people. They love the ability to eat the food that they're eating. And I'm telling you, it makes a more peaceful environment. But for me, the next stage was going to the Ville. And honestly, I never got in any trouble in the Ville. 2.5 years, not a single misconduct. And it wasn't because I wasn't doing anything bad. It's just a different environment, you know. A much different environment. They don't really care. If you ain't stabbing anybody in the Ville or you ain't selling heroin, they don't really care. This is story time. I love y'all. Obviously, I share my stories with you guys so you don't have to go through these things yourselves. If I could snap my fingers, nobody goes to prison, nobody goes to jail, nobody is addicted to drugs. That is what I do. But that's not a reality. We know this, especially in 2023. It's hard out here. Sometimes decisions we make that we're forced to make to support ourselves, our families, or our habits, let's be real, can put you in prison. And at least these videos are here to help you, to prepare you, so you don't go in green, you don't make life more difficult for the people in there, and you're also safer. Like, let's keep it real, right? Prison is prison. Yes, prison in Canada is safer than prison in the US, but it is still prison. It is still where the killers go, the rapists go, the drug dealers go, the gang members go, the robbers go, the carjackers go, all of society's baddest people go there. So it's dangerous, and you need to understand that. And these videos should hopefully help you with that. If you could please hit that like button, subscribe button, and that bell notification button so you get all my videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that'd be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description of most of my videos. I got another video coming up in a few days. I just got to do a little bit more research on it just to make sure that I got my facts straight. Then we're going to talk about that. This is just a little story time showing you that good things even do sometimes happen when you're in the joint, and surprises do happen. Like, nobody would have ever expected the Fed to hand me like 3 grams of weed, but he did it by accident. Retarded, but I got it. It was a good day. Love y'all. Thenewmattclark. By the way, the ultimate message of the video is to never go to prison. You know, I want to get that very clear. It's not worth it for anybody, especially now. Stay out for your family, for yourself, and for the ones that may need you. Love you. Thenewmattclark.